What really happens inside the body when sugar suddenly disappears? Not just candy, not just soda, but the constant stream of added sugar that quietly controls metabolism every day and often overwhelms it. In the first few days, many people feel worse, not better. The head throbs, mood swings. The body craves something sweet, almost as if something essential were missing. But this is exactly where something begins that hardly anyone sees. While the mind talks about deprivation, the body starts switching gears in the background. Hormones shift their balance, the brain adjusts its signals, and metabolism searches for a new energy source. The next 14 days are not a diet. They are a biological experiment, one that shows how dependent the modern body has become on sugar, and how quickly it learns to function without it. To understand what happens during these 14 days, it first has to be clear what role sugar actually plays. Sugar is no longer the exception, but the rule. It's not only found in desserts, but in bread, sauces, processed foods, and drinks that are considered harmless. Every time sugar enters the bloodstream, the body responds with insulin. This hormone acts like a bouncer. It decides whether energy is burned immediately or stored for later. As long as sugar keeps coming in regularly, this door stays almost constantly closed. Evolutionarily, this was never intended. Human metabolism developed in a world where sugar was rare. A few berries in summer, a bit of honey with risk. Not a permanent condition. When sugar suddenly disappears, the body doesn't interpret this as a trend or a lifestyle choice. It interprets it as a signal that old routines no longer work and new ones are needed. And this is exactly where the real story of these 14 days begins. In the first 24 to 48 hours, it's not the body that reacts, it's the brain. Sugar activates the reward system. Every sweet signal releases dopamine and confirms energy is available, everything is safe. When this stimulus suddenly disappears, an imbalance occurs. The brain doesn't interpret the shortage rationally, but emotionally. It demands a refill. Typical for this phase are headaches, inner restlessness, and unusually short patience. Not because something is going wrong, but because neural habits are dissolving. At the same time, insulin levels drop. The liver begins releasing its stored carbohydrates, known as glycogen, to keep blood sugar stable. Many people notice rapid weight loss at this point, but this almost entirely comes from water. Glycogen binds fluid. When it disappears, the water follows. The body is not losing fat yet. It is only preparing to do so. After 2 to 3 days, the situation changes noticeably. Glycogen stores are largely depleted. The fast sugar is used up. The body now faces a biological decision. Either it signals ongoing scarcity, or it changes strategy. At this stage, the so-called metabolic switching process begins. Metabolism learns to no longer rely primarily on sugar for energy, but on fat. The liver starts producing ketone bodies, not as a diet mechanism, but as an evolutionarily proven emergency solution to supply the brain and muscles. Many people feel weak during these days, get cold more easily, or feel out of it. This is not a sign of damage, but of adaptation. The body is restructuring itself, slowly but deliberately, and this transition costs energy. After about 5 to 7 days, something begins to stabilize, not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. The brain adapts to the new situation. The constant dopamine spikes triggered by sugar are absent, and this is exactly what changes the perception of hunger and cravings. Cravings now occur less frequently, not because discipline has become stronger, but because neural signals are firing less chaotically. At the same time, insulin sensitivity improves. Cells respond more efficiently to available insulin instead of ignoring it. The body begins to use energy more flexibly, switching between fat and glucose without triggering panic. Many people report clearer thinking during this phase, fewer mood swings, less of an afternoon crash. Metabolism works more calmly, but far more precisely. In the second week, the focus shifts from adaptation to stability. The body has understood that sugar is not coming back and stops looking for it. Blood sugar now runs more evenly, without high spikes, without deep crashes. energy becomes more consistently available. This affects more than just energy levels. Chronically high sugar intake is associated with silent inflammatory processes in the body. As sugar drops, these signals gradually calm down. Many now notice calmer sleep, a more even sense of hunger, less urge to snack, especially in the evening. Metabolism doesn't run faster, but cleaner. Less stress hormones, fewer emergency reactions. The body begins to rely again on what it actually does well, providing energy without creating chaos. After about 10 days, the body enters a new phase, not spectacular, but biologically significant. Insulin levels now remain low for large parts of the day, and this opens a window in which fat burning can run consistently, not as an exception, but as a normal state. Visceral fat, in particular, responds sensitively to this change, not because sugar alone creates fat, but because constant insulin prevents fat from leaving. At the same time, repair mechanisms become more active. Cells begin breaking down and recycling damaged components more efficiently, a process linked in research to metabolic pauses. The body now uses energy more strategically. Not everything is burned immediately. Not everything is stored. Balance emerges. Many people don't feel euphoria during these days, but clarity, a more stable body awareness, less mental fixation on food, not because willpower has increased, but because biology has calmed down. Cutting sugar is not a miracle cure, and it is not equally useful for everyone. Fructose from whole fruits acts differently than added sugar. Carbohydrates are not the problem. Context decides. People with eating disorders, during pregnancy, or with certain metabolic conditions should not conduct such experiments without medical supervision. These 14 days are not medical advice. They are an observation of what happens when a permanent stimulus disappears. The body reacts individually, and that is exactly why listening is more important than rules. When sugar disappears, the body is not put in danger. It simply loses a constant barrage of stimuli. The first days feel like loss, but afterward, adaptation begins. Not everything becomes visible, but much changes internally, quietly, measurably, sustainably. The real question is not whether sugar should be avoided forever, but how often the body needs a break from it to regulate itself again. What changes were noticed during these 14 days? Energy, hunger, mood, or perhaps something entirely different? Experiences vary, and that is exactly where the value lies. Share your observations in the comments. And if this video helped you better understand the science behind sugar, subscribe to the channel for more explanations about how the human body really works. But these 14 days raise a bigger question. If the body reacts so quickly to the removal of sugar, what happens when eating pauses also become longer? This is where the connection to intermittent fasting begins, because sugar reduction and eating pauses activate the same biological switches: insulin, fat burning, and cellular repair. In the next video, it's not about what is eaten, but when and why even short fasting windows can change metabolism more deeply than many expect. Until then, remember, control is not what matters. Understanding how the body really works is. Stay curious. The human body is not an enemy that must be defeated. It is a system that reacts to stimuli, to pauses, to excess, and to silence. Sugar is only one signal among many, but when that signal disappears, it becomes clear how adaptable metabolism truly is. Those who understand what happens inside make different decisions, not out of fear, but out of clarity, until the next chapter of this journey through the human body.